How is the new Chinese generation actually different compared to the past? And what specific implications can this have for the future?
Well, Jane, you asked a very interesting question. That's why I mentioned these the demographic changes, new generations. Any country's future bet on the new young people, and a lot of the young people they study in Western, they return to China, so they are exposed to they are not as dumb. They can compare the fundamental value of two systems. But remember that these people growing up, those younger than 40 years old, they are growing up in wealthy, country or family, right? Of course, there are some living in the countryside, right? But a lot of people in the cities, so their preference are different. So that's why, the two examples I mentioned there, Tim's coffee, right? And also the Canada Goose. Their success because of preference of young generations. Because young people will like to drink coffee, and young people like to recognize the brand. They are willing to pay the 1 month salary to pay for the iPhone, right? So the best iPhone and the best highest quality of the code. So I think understanding this young generation will help we understand China the next 10 years. Well, always when we talk about the U.S. And or the Western country and the China relationship, but people always many people just focus on right now. Sometimes I look at the long terms, 10 years from now, where we are as a human being, as a human civilization, right? Leadership could change, but people, the generations, their preference will stay. So we should
China will have a shrinking population because of the aging.
That's another challenge. We could have another the presentation with caring for the aging the people and how to improve their health, and Chinese government realize that, and so we could open another presentation on that. And I have some thought on this, but this is not as that's true.
That's great. There's actually another question related to, now that we're on the topic of people and culture, I guess, right? So you showed us the graph that more Chinese are actually returning back nowadays, right? Do you think that this is actually widening the gap between China and the West, or is it closing the gap?
Well, technology, if we talk about technology, yes, definitely closing the gap. And even the economic development, the way, I mentioned that in my presentation, where Chinese, a lot of Chinese are very quick learners. They, thinking what is the best business practice or technology is good for China. And they will quickly adapt to it and leverage out their market power and to make it success. That's why, you look at some of the Alibaba, practice, right? They basically combine many of the internet companies' basically these ideas. But they are so successful because of huge market in China and the huge populations. So I think, the returning, the people will, bring back these best practice in, the Western countries and closing the gap and in technology and the business practice. That's imposed challenge for us. So we, I think, it would be, unfortunate if we say, well, let's close the door. Don't let them, take back these, best practice. What I think, more challenge for us is we should keep ourselves more innovative, right? We can attract, the brilliant, most intelligent Chinese, the young people come to study here and stay here, and help us develop better technologies, and we can sell them to back to China. That's, I think, is the right way to do it. It's a dynamic game. It's not like just closing the gap, and so yeah.